I'd like to do at this point is to call the meeting to order. I'm Laura DiDio, the chairperson of the EDC. It is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, and we are here except for two members, so we do have a quorum. Um,
We'll do a
Opening,
roll call,
yes,
Laura.
we'll do the roll call first. Yes?
Okay, all right. I'm gonna read out the roll and just ask people to acknowledge since we're fully remote. So I'll just go through the list here. Nicole Athier,
Present.
Justin Wood,
Present.
Angela Achu, present, Alina Amano.
Present.
Okay, and Laura Taddeo.
Yes, present.
Okay, thank you.
And William Blake, our
Thank
assistant
you.
town administrator, is also here.
Good evening.
Good to see you. So, again, we just opening remarks. We missed last month's meeting because we did not have a quorum. So it had to be canceled, although Angela, William, and myself were there. And we did talk about a couple of items that we wanted to address. Angela, did you want to speak about?
Yeah, so I thought we should start and just go in
Yes.
order that you have on the agenda for tonight,
Okay.
Laura. I think it will just be easier if we just do that. So if we start with the agenda, and I have a frozen page right now, so I'm just trying to pull up
Okay.
item
So-
one. If you want to read out item one that we have.
Yes, item one is the opening remarks, and obviously, thanks everybody for being here. It's been very challenging with the weather here over the last month or so, so we very much appreciate it. And a lot of things to discuss because we didn't have the January meeting. One of the first orders of business on item number 2 is let's all welcome our new EDC board member, Elena. Do you say Elena or Elena?
Alina.
Elena.
Alina. Okay.
Alina. Okay. Alina Amano. So Alina, welcome. We're a very friendly group. We are very interactive as well. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why the EDC interested you, and just give us some of your ideas briefly, what
Sure,
you'd like to see.
Yeah. So as Laura said, my name is Alina Amano. I was born and raised in Grafton. Spent about 10 years in New York City. Came back actually during COVID and have sort of stayed here on and off ever since, and then full time for the last few years. And I think one of the things that struck me was I was sort of surprised that I hadn't seen sort of more changes in terms of the number and makeup of businesses in Grafton in the sort of ensuing years that I was in New York. And now that work is a little bit lighter for me, now that I'm doing consulting work and sort of setting my own schedule, it seemed like a great opportunity to get more involved in the community and leverage some of my past experience, to try to help recognize some of the change that I wish I had seen, um, you know, happening and better understand the issues. And of course, I'm sure the commission has already done a lot of work and research into what issues are present and what's working, what's not. And I'm very interested in hearing and reading and catching up on all the stuff that you guys have been doing. Yeah, my background is uh, mostly in digital marketing, but also just a lot of general general things. More recently, I've been a chief of staff at a couple of startups, and I'm still sort of in that role. So a lot of general communications, a lot of P&L management, a lot of internal and external comms work, forecasting, pretty much anything. But still, of course, have a lot of the majority of my background is in marketing. So any of those and a lot of creative sort of work along with that, working with those teams. So yeah.
Well, that will dovetail nicely with a lot of things on our mission statement and some of the initiatives we hope to pursue this year. So, we're really happy to have you aboard and, always feel free to reach out if you have any questions, concerns, ideas, because, we welcome all of that. So the third item on our agenda is, and we didn't get to this, discuss the 2026 EDC meeting dates. Now, what we've been doing, and we can continue to do if the majority agrees, is stick with the third Wednesday of the month for our meeting dates, which would then, if we're looking at the upcoming calendar, we'd look at the next meeting being March 18th.
Yes.
After that, we would be looking at April 15th. Now that's income tax day. I don't know if that affects anybody, but April 15th. After that, we'd be looking at May 20th. Then we've got June 17th. Now, typically, well, not typically, but what we did last year was skip the meeting in July, mainly because it's vacation time. A lot of people are out of town. So, I don't know, one of the things we can discuss is, do we want to continue to do that this year? Because if we were going with the July meeting, it would be July 15th. The August meeting on the third Wednesday of the month falls on August 19th, which is, I think, the week before the kids start school. So I don't know if people are still going to be out of town or what have you. And then we would be looking at September 16th, October 21st, November 18th, which is the week before Thanksgiving. And then the last meeting would be held on December 16th. Thoughts?
So just getting to March, maybe if we could just get consensus on Wednesday, March 18th. Anyone have any conflicts?
No.
Okay. All right, so we should be good for March 18th, and then the following month, maybe if we're just 2 months out, is that Wednesday, April 15th. Does anyone have any conflicts? Doesn't look like there's any. Everyone's shaking their heads no. So I think if we could work with those two dates so that we know that we have a quorum, we can work from there, Laura, and maybe just start moving it forward in 2-month increments. But basically, does anyone have any disagreement regarding the established third Wednesday of the month? Generally, that's what we try to work with.
My only
Okay.
comment on that, Angela, is where different members of like the planning board or any select board, for example, Craig isn't going to stay on this committee after the election. We may have a situation where Wednesday may not be good for people. So I would lean toward at least going through the May election, possibly even the June nomination, appointments by the select board,
Mm-hmm.
and then having this committee revisit on what makes sense for all the current appointees for the EDC.
Got it.
Okay, so my only comment about that, Justin, is that um it's always, number one, it's always going to be tough. We
Yes.
used to meet on Mondays, but then there were conflicts with different committees. That's the problem because there are so many different committees. So, and of course, we don't have any of the meetings on Fridays. So that leaves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I think the reason we switched from Monday was because there were too many conflicts, whether it was with the planning board, FinCom, et cetera. So, yeah, I guess
I
we'll just,
limited options, but it's also in my mind is the day of the week plus time. Like Monday at 6 might be good for some people, where planning board starts at 7, select board starts at 7 typically on Tuesdays. So if, select board, Tuesdays at 6 if we don't go a long meeting and plan to be done by 7 for whoever's a select board member. Those are options that we could visit when it comes time to look beyond these few months. That's basically what I'm saying. I think we don't
and
we don't have many options, but we have options.
well, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky because I think at one point we did try and do the 6 o'clock meeting, but then because we're all volunteers, I mean, people weren't getting out of work. I mean, that might be tough for somebody like Angela who's commuting from Boston. But yeah, I mean, we can certainly see what we're going to work with. All I'm saying is it's going to be tricky no matter what we do.
Got it. So we've got March 18th and April 15th secured so far that we should be able to have a quorum on those Wednesdays, the third Wednesdays of the month. And then the next item on the agenda, number 4, is further discussion of 2026 potential EDC initiatives, Laura.
Yes. Um, so I think one of the things that people would like to see, and we have this, Nicole had come up with a suggestion on conducting a survey similar to what the town of Shrewsbury has done that will query businesses and residents, which is something we haven't done before on the EDC. We've done things with businesses, and we're looking at let's get feedback on what are the top challenges and issues facing the town that potentially impede economic, or spur economic growth. So Nicole, would you like to talk about that a little bit more?
So I was more focused on the event that Shrewsbury held for community members. And then if you couldn't make the event, then they had like an online survey you could take. But then as I was thinking about it a little bit more, if you look in, which I don't know if anybody utilizes this often, but our master plan, which has an EDC section, actually did ask community members when we did all of these master plan community events when we were building the plan. So we essentially like have that information from the community already. So I don't know if we should spend our efforts in that direction anymore. Now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I feel like we spin our wheels, for lack of a better word. I don't feel like we've been able to make a lot of headway, and I would really like to just concentrate efforts on us like moving forward and trying to get either some of these empty storefronts populated or some of these larger developments, something going on with them. It just feels like we're at a standstill.
And actually, I just want to double check when you say the master plan, is that the thing that included asking residents, what type of businesses would you most like to see? And I believe the
Mhm.
number one answer by far was restaurants.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Then I agree. I agree with you on that point. I don't know if we have the information about the top issues and challenges facing current businesses. Is that something that we have? Is that in that master plan or is that in another thing?
We did try to have an event and a survey built asking business owners what their challenges were. We didn't get a lot of feedback, to be honest with you. A lot of people just don't take the time to like answer the survey, but I think one of the biggest factors was that people overall, I think from a town perspective and municipal town perspective, thought that it was Grafton has a reputation of being kind of more difficult to deal with.
In terms of like getting
Getting
started?
like things started and done, like if you need a permit to build out something, it's more difficult. I don't know if that's like Grafton specific or it's just like small town, you know, a generalization.
It
It
was
exists
specific, it
everywhere.
was specific
Yep. Try the
Grafton.
cities. It exists everywhere. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
challenging, right? Like it's all for good reasons usually, right?
Yep.
You can't just say I'm showing up and here's what I'm going to build. So
Yep.
it's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be robust. And I don't look at Grafton and see Grafton as somehow being an outlier. That's just my
Yeah.
personal take in the construction industry and
No,
real estate
I would
development.
totally agree with that. That was just really the kind of only thing that we were able to grab as far as feedback came to
Well,
us.
if I may, I think that there was a very specific reason for that because over the last 10 years, that reputation came to Grafton specifically. And I heard it because I conducted interviews with that survey that I did. I actually went out and met with people. And a lot of it did specifically have to do with the former buildings inspector who had a terrible reputation
So
for,
I don't want to get into
Yeah,
no,
disparaging
I
no, but
would,
I'm just
anybody.
saying,
I just
I
want to
and
would,
stay
so now
focused. Yep.
it might be, I mean, we have not tried to poll any of the residents in town, and we don't have to do that, but yeah, I'd like to see what we can do. But that said, I guess my question is, to Nicole and everybody else here, how can we help facilitate bringing businesses into town? You know, what can we do to spur, to see about getting empty storefronts filled? Because to a large degree, we are ministers without portfolio. We
Justin,
are not a
Yep.
line item on the budget. And while William is great and he does yeoman's work for us, he's supporting us in an administrative capacity. When we lost John Allen, who was a consultant for the town, John had a budget. He was able to set things, go at, et cetera. And we lost some of that with John. That's not to say we haven't, if we approach Evan, that we haven't gotten the green light, for some of our events. But in practical terms, how can we help
Yeah.
to realize some of what you're saying is what I'm asking.
So it does seem to me like a lot of our effort in the past several years, past few years, has been focused on existing Grafton residents. What do they want? Yeah, we're not creating businesses ourselves, but what do we want with the master plan? We got some data there. We also have a few existing business owners that you're not going to have Bread Guy Breads open up a second Bread Guy Breads necessarily in Grafton. If he opens another business, it'll probably be in another town. Just use that as an example. And Grafton does have a desire for food, but we have quite a few places that sell pizza, for example. We don't have a lot of variety on that. One thing that is in my mind is maybe there is an opportunity for us to find or create a listing of Central Mass business owners in some way and send them a, kind of a marketing thing from Grafton saying, the Grafton EDC is interested in your thoughts, what might help you come to Grafton. Here's some data, what type of businesses that the town folks have said they want. Here's, some contact information for our planning department, et cetera, and say, here is some open business zoned locations that might be conducive for a business and try to get that interest. Like I've seen many businesses that may have started in places like Southbridge and open up in Worcester, open up in Shrewsbury, to use that, so there's a wide range, but generally a existing business is more likely to have an opportunity or desire to expand to a town like Grafton than something that's than a brand new, just random resident saying, "Hey, what do you need?" And even a business that might exist in Millbury may not feel there's a need to open in Grafton. So if we are focusing too small on our town or immediate neighboring towns, we may not be getting that reach we could benefit from.
One thing that
All
was
this, I don't know how to effectuate those ideas, but that's
one thing that John Allen was keen to work on. We had that meeting back in 2022. Grafton is open for business, and we still have all the collateral, the marketing collateral on that, which we can certainly update. John was big on promoting the idea that we should try and attract larger businesses that could populate a 50,000 square foot or 100,000 square foot facility, either to be built or something that we might be able. I don't think we have any empty spaces that are that large, but new buildings. But in order to, as you said, effectuate that, we would have to get buy-in. We would have to have a commitment for at least 25 to 30,000 square feet for any of those things. And at the time, there was a big focus on clean,
Bio life sciences.
life sciences. And as I think we've discussed before, some of that has shifted. So I think what you've just said, that's a good starting point. If we could get some marketing collateral out there for, small businesses, but also as Kevin Kouros discussed, Elena, for Kevin Kouros was he is the regional director for the Central Massachusetts Office of Business Development. And he was at our November 5th event at the library and had a wonderful presentation on some of the things that, and resources that businesses can get. So that might be a good starting point. I mean, perhaps we want to have Kevin come back and address us again and do maybe a workshop. We could do a workshop with him.
Is it possible to see is there a recording of the November 5th presentation, or do we have a copy of the presentation that he gave?
There is,
Yes,
we
sir,
did have it recorded, okay, even though it was an event and not a meeting. So that should be available from Grafton TV. We recorded
What
the
channel
event.
is it? And for some reason, I was checking the YouTube channel for Grafton TV, but I couldn't find the playlist that the EDC meetings live in.
I've never
William?
tried to research them like that before.
I can send
It was
you
at the library.
Yeah,
So they have like there's like a planning board playlist and a select board playlist, and
William, do you know?
not everything gets added to a specific playlist, so it might just be kind of a loose video in there.
okay.
Maybe if you search the date, would that come up? Like
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
that might help.
November 5th. Well, we can send an email out to Bill Robidoux and Bob DeToma, because they were the ones recording it. so
Yeah,
they
and
would know.
I can fish around too, and see if I can find it.
Yeah, I can just send them an email after this meeting and, copy everyone on it.
Like
I
I think the go ahead, William, sorry.
I was able to find it on the YouTube page. I can send out the link to the whole committee or just to you,
Great.
whatever people need.
Awesome. And actually, to that end, I was going to ask about because in another agenda item, not to skip ahead, but was excellent information we received from our December guest speakers on December 17th, the members of the Marlboro EDC.
Yes.
If you happen to have that handy, that would be great as well, because that's actually why I was in there looking for it in the beginning.
Yes.
You're looking for that meeting recording or the
Yeah.
materials? Okay.
Oh, both,
Yep.
both. Yeah.
Both. Actually, I
I'm
have,
greedy.
yeah, I have copies of the meeting, uh, the presentation that Meredith sent us. She sent it to us in January. That was the last thing we did at the end of the year. And then, of course, you're in a black hole for a few weeks. So yeah, I can send that around as well.
That would be great.
So I think like one of our goals could be targeting the new development as Laura was talking about. So the bio life sciences developing, some of the plots of land. For Fisherville Mill, the state did award us $100,000 housing housing choice grant for a development feasibility study. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but we're doing so through the Affordable Housing Trust. We're doing a site walk on Monday at 10:30 if anyone is interested in going to that. But so we'll actually be at Fisherville Mill doing a site walk for that feasibility study. Because I think there
Well,
has to be a lot of cleanup done there before anybody can even attempt to develop it.
could you just clarify one point, which is when you said we got $100,000 grant, who is the we? Is that the town of Grafton?
Fiona applied for it and got it for the town of Grafton.
Okay, so it's not
we're
ED.
working, the town
Yeah.
of Grafton is working with the owner of that property
Mhm.
through this grant.
Okay, good to know.
So I'm gonna be there on Monday, but I'm sure anyone's welcome if you guys want to come and check it out. So I think that could be one great goal for us, to keep that in the back of our minds and try to conceptualize some events around that to try and, get the right people in the room. But I also think it would be a good idea to somehow highlight some of the empty storefronts, for lack of a better word. Things like the Grafton Inn, that old Burger King. There's a couple of churches for sale that people are trying to, sell on the commercial real estate MLS. Things like that. I think those things are a little bit overlooked. Like unless you're searching for them online, you wouldn't really know that, it's available for a business to come here and search out.
Well, one thing that's prime. I mean, I think we would have a hard time with the former Burger King and Pepperoni Express thing because of the flooding concerns. And there's also issues with the former gas station next door to it. Just in terms of, environmental things. But to your point, one thing that could be prime is the site of the Discerned, the cannabis place.
Are they going out of business?
I think they're pretty much closed. I think that happened within the last month or so. I mean, I haven't seen that they're
I
in
don't know.
business, but there's
Were
never
they
anybody.
ever open? I was always wondered that because I've passed it 100 times. I've never seen a single car there.
No, they were open, but I guess they just did not get the traffic that they thought they were going to get, and then they reduced their hours. But it pretty much looks like it's deserted now. I don't even see, I haven't even seen
I
one or
don't
two
know.
cars in the back, so
Yeah.
I think that they might be closed, but, don't quote me on that. There's just been no activity there, but that has been for whatever reason, that was a very hard luck location. However, the fact is, it was a new building. It was updated, and it has been it wasn't in business for that long.
Yeah, it
So
could be fairly
that
turnkey for
that might be easy to
Mhm.
get somebody to occupy.
Like the
um,
Marlboro EDC, I knew they keep a list of open opportunities in Marlboro.
I was just about to ask that exact question.
Mhm.
Do we know how many vacant storefronts we have? Uh,
No, I don't think we'd know unless we kind of comb through and figure it out. I did like a quick kind of MLS search, and pulled like those ones that I called out, like 1315 Depot Street was on the market, 912 West Street, which is like a contemporary style church, right off the Common was on the market.
hmm.
The Grafton Inn was on for a while, but now it was withdrawn, so I don't know what's going on there. Um, 10 Overlook Street was expired listing, also a church, but it has a fully equipped kitchen. Like, I mean, stuff like that, like, might be kind of a cool venue or a place for someone to open like a really unique restaurant or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a
Yeah,
developer, but I'm just trying to like think of any kind of ideas where we could help get more
yeah,
eyeballs on this stuff.
Yeah, and
totally. And
the buggy whip at 122 in 122A in South Grafton. The owner's retired, but the building is there, and they had, they were catering, very popular catering organization. And I don't know if they've sold off their equipment, but that's another potential.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had like besides again like going to the MLS, we've never had like a centralized sort of list of things, opportunities in Grafton.
and sort of combining what you're saying, Nicole, also with what Justin mentioned earlier, I think an interesting thing to do would be to your point, compile like a comprehensive list of the sort of opportunities, come up with maybe some sort of like criteria ranking system to sort of come up with like a short list of like priority locations, or even with, going to other restaurants that are successful in the area that might be thinking of coming up with, a secondary location in a neighboring town, like a reverse spread guy type of a situation.
Hmm.
One possible thing that we could maybe go to them with would be one thing that might be interesting is coming up with sort of like a success portfolio for like the few businesses, like the few restaurants that are successful in Grafton. Like I would say like Cancun's
Hmm.
or,
Grafton Grill with Uncommon Cow and how they're expanding.
yeah, exactly. And, and the bread guy and what have you, sort of
Hmm.
say, hey, these places are doing well. And then the other thing being, there is a Massachusetts vacant storefront program, the MVSP, and they have it's called the One Stop Portal. I think the deadline is early June, but you can access up to $50,000 in refundable tax credits. So that might be a hook that we could go to those places with and say, hey, we could offer you this. Like, so that way it wouldn't, I know we don't have a budget, as you said, Laura, which is obviously kind of a big, a big, you know, difficult thing to work with or without. But that might be sort of a way around that, maybe if we could get that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I think Kevin Kurros, his programs through the state, there were opportunities we could take
yes,
advantage of too. It was just, it's a lot of, when you watch that, it's a lot of information that
yes.
he like dives into. It was overwhelming. I mean, it was all good stuff. It
Mhm.
was just a lot.
And we
Mm-mm-mm.
just now have to find a way to leverage it, because Kevin's job, to be very specific, is to assist us in business development.
Hmm.
So that's what he's there for. And there was a lot of great stuff. I'd love to have him come back again. And we should also give a second look at what Meredith sent us from the Marlboro EDC. Now,
Mhm.
they have a different, they're in a different situation, Alina, which is they actually are their own business. They have 10 to 12 employees, they have their own building. And of course, Marlboro is a totally different situation from Grafton. So, but yeah, they have budget, they have employees, etc. So they are a business concern, but we were hoping to sort of, leverage a lot of the things that Meredith talked to us about. And the other person who was on her committee he's a Grafton resident, so he was also present at the thing. His family has a business in Millbury,
Nice.
well established. So we can leverage that and really start to, dig down into some of these things so that we're not, as has been pointed out, just spinning our wheels and doing and going nowhere. It's not for lack of effort, though, on our part, So
It's not an easy thing to do. That's for sure.
no, I mean, the other thing, just to give you some background, Elena, of course, COVID wreaked havoc with certain things, and then it took us a while to get back on track, and then we did have some changes in the board, and then we only had about 4 meetings in 2024 because in the middle of the year we lost John Allen, and nobody informed us of that. I got curious. I found out when I called John to say, when is our next meeting, and was told his last day was going to be June 30th. So after that, I met with Evan Broussard, the town administrator, and then reached out to the rest of the board, and then we reconvened, in September. So, there's been a lot of start, stop, start, stop. So now we're trying to get back in the swing of things and really, do something meaningful with initiatives that we can dig our teeth into. And we've got a great foundation and basis, I think, for doing so. Now we just have to implement, some of this stuff. And maybe we come back. I mean, I like the idea myself, and let me know who else agrees or disagrees, with having Kevin come back after, we review some of his things, so we can ask him for specific pointers and things that might be available, and also reviewing what we had from Meredith. So maybe that's something we can do in our next meeting.
So one of the other items we have on here is whether we're going to be planning a potential spring business meet and greet event. Just to get a sense from the committee here if there's a desire to work on a spring business meet and greet.
Anybody?
I mean, I know people like them, the people that come. I don't know, could that be an opportunity? Could we have a list compiled of opportunities in Grafton by then and use it as a, I don't know, sounding board for helping to get the word out? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just as a background question, how many of these have we had, and how has the attendance been, and how have there been, what was the feedback, I guess, from those events? How do we think they went?
The first one we did was in January 2000. 24 was at the end of on a very cold night, and it was held at the post office pub. We had phenomenal attendance. I think probably there were at least 100 people who came in, which was surprising considering that it was, the end of January, very cold, etc. The second one we did was at Reunion Tap and Table, and that was in May 2025. Unfortunately, what happened was that was the night where we had a big torrential downpour and storms, so a lot of people literally couldn't get there. I know Angela was stuck on the Mass Turnpike for a while, but you got there, Angela. But so we had about 25 businesses that came to that. And then the last one we did was November 5th at the library, which worked out very well because we can use the library's event room, and that's free as part of the town. So in terms of being cost conscious, and we had about 37 or 38 attendees. The issue that we have is that we do a lot of marketing and outreach. We put the things up on the different Grafton sites on Facebook. We put it on the website, or the town website, on our page on the town website. And we've sent, I know William did put a lot of effort behind sending out. We have about 353 businesses in town, give or take. And I mean, that number will fluctuate somewhat. And I've even done outreach where I've gone into the businesses, we've given flyers, but we don't get a lot of feedback. So the short answer to your question is it varies, and we never know until the night of the actual event what kind of a turnout we're going to get.
Got it. So it's not like there's not like an Evite or something. Okay.
No,
Okay.
we did do the Evite. We did a full court press on putting it up on the website, sending out emails, sending out the event over Eventbrite.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole
Cool.
took care of that.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we kind of have a general idea, but I guess we're always like hoping more people will show up, especially the last two events where we didn't have as many people. I don't know what it was about that January event that we got so many attendees.
Was it
Yeah.
that the first one?
Yeah, the first
Yeah, it was
one.
the first one in a long time, I think.
Mm. And wait, did you say how many businesses did you say we have in town, roughly?
Just say 350, give or take. Now,
Not
again,
many.
it might fluctuate. We also have collateral information on who the largest businesses are. Obviously, something like Wyman Gordon, Washington Mills, Stop and Shop. Mainly, though, a lot of the businesses, are smaller businesses, but small businesses make up 90% of the businesses nationwide.
Totally.
So, yeah.
And then what is like just roughly the agenda for those events?
Well, we had we had presentations at the last one, but the first two were more free form, where we worked the room, introduced ourselves, especially going back to 2024. And we were asking people informally, how can we help? What would you like to see us do? We did some of the same at the Reunion Tap and Table event. And we were able to actually, because we didn't have as good a turnout, frankly, we were able to spend more time with, each, individual business. There were about 25 there, and they would really like help, especially, marketing their businesses and helping to raise the profile. One thing we did say, and we are going to initiate this, is give people the opportunity we can send them a questionnaire that they can fill out about their business so that they can put up mini bios about their business on the EDC webpage on the town website. They also have the option, if they didn't want to fill that out, if they just wanted to say, I'd say, hey, get on the phone with me or what have you, or we can do a Zoom meeting, myself or anybody from EDC, and tell us about your business. And we can put a framework around it, so it's simple. How long have you been in business? How many employees? What is your main line of business? What do you like about Grafton? What would you like to, why should, people come here? What would you like to see? I mean, free fall, so that it's a marketing tool for them.
Yeah, I can see that being really cool. Like even like,
Yes.
what's the top selling thing at your place? Like,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like, oh, everyone loves our express gel manicure, or everyone loves our like, blueberry muffin scone things or whatever it is, then I'd be like, oh, okay, like if I go there, I could try that out. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the next topic, Laura, William, did you have anything that you wanted to touch on regarding trade and industry development, anything about advertising? Just didn't want to move on if you had something that you wanted to share with us tonight.
Well, so since you brought it up, yep, just sort of going along with the topic of talking to businesses more, finding out what we can do. Um, I want to say in December, Carl had asked for an update on what was going on in North Grafton, and I sent out an email that those parcels had been sold, and most of them are in the phase where they're looking for tenants before they start building. And so it
Mm-hmm.
seems like EDC's role there would be helping with advertising. So I got a call from this company called Trade and Industry. They are basically a site selection magazine. They do 4 issues a year. They send them out to various industries. Each issue is a different industry. So like Q3 in 2025 was biotech. They only went to biotech firms. It does cost money to advertise there, obviously. But one of the ideas that I was thinking of that Angela and I discussed was potentially approaching the owners of those parcels in North Grafton and seeing what they need help with in terms of advertisement and seeing if they would be interested in a partnership for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if that was something EDC was interested in potentially pursuing or what the thoughts on that were, so I figured I would speak to the entire commission before starting anything on that.
I think it's worth a shot, just so everybody knows who might not have been on the EDC back in 2020, 2021. When we did have a budget, we did vote at the time to use what was left in the budget to advertise in the Worcester Business Journal. This would be what you're discussing here. A partnership would be much more targeted and on our part. So I think it might be worthwhile, assuming we could get the funds.
So just to back up, so I understand what we're talking about here. What are the partials that you're referring to in North Grafton?
There were 5 or 6, I think, somewhere around there. I can pull up the email. I can include it in what I send out later on. That were just in various stages of being sold or being developed recently. They've all been sold off. They've all gone through, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong here. They've gone through the pre-permitting? Yes? No?
I depends on what parcels you're talking about. I think most of the ones I know of have.
Okay. But they're all sort of in this, or most of them are in this stage where they're ready to start building, but they don't want to build until they know they're going to have a tenant in
Mhm.
there when they build it.
Got it. Got it. And these
So
are,
if they don't find the right people to be the tenant, they potentially could just still sit vacant.
Yep.
And
And it's also entirely possible that we approach the owners and they say, nope, we're not interested in doing something like that. But I figure it never hurts to ask.
Mm-hmm.
and once they come before planning board and get an approved plan and with conditions and everything like that, that can sit for 10, 20 years and still be a valid order of conditions and a valid plan that they can still develop on.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, UPS sat for 7 or 8 years before they
Yeah,
started
it
building.
was, I actually thought it was closer to 10, the way it dragged
yeah,
on.
UPS didn't have an approved plan though for that long.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
But I have a follow-up call with the Trade and Industry magazine next week, so I can get some additional information and we can talk again in March and see which way we want to go.
Can you ask them too if when people run ads like this, if there's ever someone who like finds someone to be a sponsor, like a
Yeah,
lender or something of that nature, someone to help these owners with the cost? Because if they potentially say no, I don't think we're gonna find the money in the budget because we don't
uh,
have we don't have enough money.
yeah,
correct. Um, the other side of this, in my opinion, is so the magazine would advertise sort of Grafton as a whole
Hmm.
and then point them to the EDC website. So
Hmm.
even if the owners of these parcels aren't interested in going in monetarily on the magazine, I think it would be a good way to get information on what they're looking for to then put on the EDC website and sort of start building that inventory on our end of
Hmm.
what does Grafton have? What are we looking for?
Yeah.
Because I think that that is very important too.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
Just yeah, ask a few questions of the magazine and see if there's anybody that has gotten really
Yeah,
creative with the advertising piece of it and paying for it.
can do.
Just in the interest of time, I know we try to keep the meetings to about an hour at 7:54 PM. The other item that we have on here, Laura, was your update regarding the EDC's final input to the town of Grafton. We have an annual report that gets filed each year, so thank you for putting that together. And you noted on the agenda a couple highlights of information that went into the report,
Hmm.
and you shared the report with all of us via email. So I don't know if there's just anything that you want to touch on briefly regarding the report, because it has been submitted
Yes.
to Cindy Ide on February 11th of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, so you have copies. I included the PDF of the report in the meeting invitation and we have it here. So unless anybody has any questions, I mean, the big, the big thing is we are not a line item on, we don't have a budget, but our expenses for 2025 were minimal. $1,367.52. And that's well below, the threshold that they were asking for if expenses exceeded 2,500. So, and Carl, as you can see, Moisen, who's president of Homefield Credit Union, they generously picked up the tab. So that would have been close to, 1/3 of the, if we had to pick it, if we had to spend that extra 625, that would have increased our costs, our expenditures to the town by about 1/3, 30%. So anyway, we're cheap dates is what it is. We're inexpensive. We're not costing the town much.
My only thought that I just had looking at this, and I apologize for only thinking of it now, which might be too late to do anything about it, is it might be useful since we're putting in the note that we don't have our own separate line item for a budget. Where did this money come from? Like, which line item did it come from? Because that people are, at least this year especially, are looking a little bit more closely at information about the budget. So when they see that we spent money, but they don't know where it came from, that's some people may look at that as a red flag. But if it's too late to change, it's not a big deal. It's just a thought I had.
Well, no, I
Edie,
mean, that was green lit by Evan Broussard.
Yes.
Went to him, Craig Dauphiné went to him and said, okay, because what Evan said to me, dating back to my meeting with him in August of 2024 was there, just because you're not a line item in the budget with a separate budget of your own, if you were, that doesn't mean there isn't anything, there isn't money from you from the general town budget. So,
Yes, I
yeah,
understand that. My point was, if someone is reading the town book, which I don't think that many people actually read every single page in there, but
no, true.
if someone is and they look at this goes, well, they got money, where did they come out of a hat? Like what section of the budget did it come from? Because there's not normally a line item. That's just my
Justin,
initial
I do
thought.
want to say it has gone to print, so it is too late to change it.
Okay, then that negates any further discussion as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Yep.
William, one question, because you used the town's credit card to sign for the reunion tap and table tab
Yes.
that night. So where does that come from? Is that the general slush fund for the town, or if there is such a thing?
Town does not have a slush fund. I do just want
Okay.
to say that for the record.
Okay, a
Um,
general budget, or is there,
yeah,
miscellaneous, whatever you want to call it?
it would have come out of a line item. I don't know which one off the top of my head.
Okay, so it came from somebody's line item,
Correct.
just not ours, because we're not a line item.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess maybe, could you clarify that with Evan?
Yeah.
Just
I'm
so
not even sure we need to unless somebody actually asks us or
Well, just for
cares.
future reference, it's good to know.
Where it was for this year could be different than where it is next year if we spend money.
That
Okay,
is very true.
so the only thing we could say, if asked, is that we approach the town administrator
Mm-hmm.
to get approval.
So it was
Yep.
limited funds for 2 meet and greet events, and that's definitely what's noted here for the agenda and on the items. So with that said, Laura, I think what we're all aware of is that going forward, if we have any other meet and greet events, the fact that we don't have a budget, we'll continue to make inquiries to see if there's any funds available. And we can find out further if there are funds available, what line item those funds would come from. So we could do that going
Okay.
forward. For other EDC business, does anyone have anything else for other EDC business tonight?
I just have one thing that we did get a citizen comment about the lack of minutes for the past several years. I
Oh, yeah.
that extended past the point where I joined the EDC, so I don't know the state of most of that, but I think in whatever way possible, we should try to achieve having minutes available for us to vote on and get published for several reasons.
Yes, so thank you, because that's the only item here I talked to Laura about one-on-one. So I don't, I myself too, I think it predates me. Before the earlier years, the citizen inquiry identified timeframe of 2021 to the present. So I have minutes, I've been taking notes from the end of 2024 through the present. And I have those, I have some that we've brought up to discuss, to approve. And what I'd like to do is bring to the next meeting, have a matrix of what we have for minutes in draft form, get those approved as to form so we can upload them. All of our meetings have been recorded, so we do have recordings of all of the meetings. But to Justin's point, we want to make sure that we have a written document for the minutes. The earlier ones, I don't know if anybody here, I don't know if anyone with us tonight or if it predates folks that are with us here regarding going back earlier than 2024. So I'm not sure where to go to get those documents. I know that we've had other people, possibly Carl Moisen might be a reference that could help understand where minutes may be kept. But I myself I do not have any knowledge before my time with our with our EDC.
If those are all recorded, they could be in theory, someone could watch those meetings and make minutes from that.
Mhm.
And we don't have to have been in the meeting to a vote to approve minutes. And then the other just brief comment is if there's in-person meetings that we've had, like for example, when we did the library thing recently, if there's a quorum especially, you do want to have minutes of that quorum meeting, which could simply just be members of the EDC attended this and talked about general whatever. And it could be very brief for those kind of things, but
Well, I have a few minutes of meetings, but to your point, one of the things that we, in our response is that during COVID, there was very, sporadic meetings.
Yep.
Going back to 2020 and even 2021, we didn't have monthly meetings or 10 meetings out of the year. And then in 2000,
any posted meeting
yeah.
needs minutes though, so
So I have some minutes for a couple of those months, but the answer to the question is that during the COVID years, there was probably there's very little. So
Yeah,
I will do my best. I'll work with Angela to send her what I have, for any other meetings, prior to 2024.
and the clerk's office, Amy Barry and them can also give us can pull out a list of what meetings that we've had posted that they don't have minutes on file for. That's something they can also do for us to kind of give us a list of that.
I will say the website is up to date in that regard, the Agenda
Okay.
Center. So if there's a meeting that doesn't have minutes on it, the clerk's office doesn't have them, to the best of my understanding.
Okay, thanks.
And just one question on this. Does somebody from the EDC intend to respond to the citizens' inquiry, or how would the committee like that handled?
Well, I mean, Angela and I can handle that. I mean, I think, we'll just be very straightforward,
We'll identify
to the
what we
point.
have for minutes, and then
Yes.
to Justin's point here, be able to come back to the next meeting with an update for the group, trying to transcribe minutes over a series of years. I don't right now know of how many other prior meetings there were. So that's something that would have to be discussed with the group, since we're all volunteers, and that without knowing how many meetings there are, I don't know how heavy of a lift that will be. So it's definitely, I agree with what Justin's saying, is it can be done, it needs to be done. So I think it's just trying to understand the past before we can commit to how
Well, I
soon
have
can
the
be completed.
thumbnail drive that I asked Cindy and Fiona to give me, from the John Allen years. So there may be minutes on there. There was an Excel spreadsheet. I'll go back and look at it and see if there are any. And I'll add them to it if there are.
But I mean,
So-
presumably that guy should be, the person who inquired would be, I think, probably realistically happy to know that there's a plan going forward and that there will be some backfilling for the most, since like at least you said partially through 2024. Because I mean, is he or anyone else going to go through, 6 years of minutes? I mean, I'm guessing probably not. I mean, it would be nice to have, but I think it'll be good that we're backfilling the most relevant recent years. That sounds
Yeah.
reasonable.
I do know at least two people who absolutely would go through and read all the minutes, but I don't think it's many
Are
people,
you
but I
one
know
of
at least
them,
two.
Justin?
No, I'm not. I am not.
Okay, I stand corrected on that then.
Yeah.
Nicole,
There's
do
always- there's
you
always
have
one
any
or two.
information from prior years? Would you know who was responsible for taking minutes?
I'm not exactly sure. I think Sean was the secretary at one point, but I'm not positive about that. I feel like Carl would probably know better than me because he was the chair
Mhm.
And I'll say
for
officially
quite
the
some years.
responsibility is the clerk slash secretary of the committee. A lot of times when there is a staff member helping or overseeing the committee, that sometimes falls on the staff to do. For many committees that happens that way. But
So
I
John would have taken
John,
minutes.
maybe again, I wasn't here when John was on the committee, so I don't know if he
No, he
considered that
wouldn't
part of
have
his role.
taken the minutes. I know that Sean did for a while. See, we had a lot of upheaval on the board, and there were a lot of times, especially during COVID, where we weren't meeting at all. And it wasn't as frequent. You know, we've been more on track with the meeting since, 2025. But there was a black hole. I think we probably only had 4 meetings in 2024. I'll go back and check because I have the list. And Carl resigned as president probably back in around 2021, 22, and he turned it over to Ray Mead was the president. So there's been a lot of changeover on the board, and so that adds to some of the confusion, and hence when that was going on, we weren't always getting the minutes posted. I have a couple
think
that I've done that I can send to Angela.
I feel like we've talked this to well past the point of necessary for tonight.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So if no one has anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, third. Okay, so we are adjourned and we will meet again on March 18th.